Hello and welcome back to the Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. I'm just delighted because Amy and I were already chatting. We're already like sparks are flying because we just realized that she asked me intuitively what my son's name was, and we have the same name of our sons. One of our sons has the same name, Phoenix. Isn't that nuts?
It's a really unique name too. Okay, I don't know anyone. I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone here in Australia that has that name.
I mean,
So,
I don't know anyone else with the name Phoenix. I can't think of off the top of my head. Okay,
yeah.
guys, here's who I'm talking to. Amy, I'm so excited. I was on her podcast. It was one of my favorite experiences. She did such an incredible job holding space for me. It was spiritual, it was emotional, it was healing, it was uplifting. Listening back to it, I felt so proud and I was just like so incredibly impressed with her. Her energy is just, as you'll see, you'll experience, you'll hear, is very healing and gentle and wise. But here's what I want you to know about her. She is a soul mentor, an intuitive guide, a spiritual teacher who empowers women to align with their soul's truth and create abundance with ease. Oh my God, I love it. With over 2 decades of experience, so much experience here in personal and spiritual transformation, she has supported countless individuals through mentorship, retreats, and soul led leadership. Amy lives her dream life with her husband and 3 children on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, Australia. And her passion is helping others step into their fullest potential and live a life that truly lights them up. As I said, I recently had the joy of being on her podcast, The Light Place, and I can't wait for you to hear the wisdom and inspiration she is bringing here to us today. So, thank you, Amy, so much. I'm just so
Well, thank you for
excited to
that
have you
beautiful.
here.
I'm just sitting here basking in all of that, right? I am on this journey, like you are, to expand my capacity to receive. And I feel like old version of Amy would have been in resistance of like, what? All that about me? And like evolved Amy is like, I'm soaking that in, Siri. Thank you. That is so kind and means so much to me. What you said about our interview
Mm.
um, means so much to me. I mean, I loved that. I loved being in your presence, in your company, and it just felt like kind of warm honey. It really did.
Yes. Well, and
It
light, like the light place, right? You're talking about
yeah,
expanding my capacity, our capacity to feel good, and your energy is so light. Just like,
gosh, we brought that together. We brought
yeah.
the love place and expanding our capacity. Yeah, I mean, I love being in conversation with women like you who are also profound space holders. And I just think it's such a gift. And I think we spoke about this in my podcast with you. Like, it's such a gift when women can be that for each other and hold the space for that for each other with wherever we're at and whatever we're going through. It's really such a profound gift. And I don't for a second take that for granted. So thank you. That's my way of saying thank you for having me. And I love being here and being in your company. It's a
You're
gift.
so welcome. And it is going in my gratitude journal tonight. It's interesting, Amy. I've started gratitude journaling, stream of consciousness gratitude journaling again after years of not having done it. Maybe
Yeah.
like, I want to say maybe 15 years of not having journaled hardly at all, and then
Mm.
coming back to it. And now there's these moments of presence. My word this year is presence, and I'm curious what your word is, but like where
Mm.
I can feel myself here present with you, but I also know later tonight I can see myself writing in my journal how grateful I am that we had this conversation and how profound it was to just be in the energy with you, like we're saying. So
I love that.
let me ask you what word resonates with you in this moment of
Mm.
time in your life.
Mm. It's a really, really great question. Like I do tune in each year where I feel like a number of years ago, it would have done it from more of a heady, like, this is what I want to achieve this year. So I'm going to set this, which felt a little, I want to say, manufactured.
Yeah.
now, like in the past few years, where I've become a lot more surrendered in my approach to what I like to call co-creation or manifestation, I allow spirit to now more move through me. So I stay really open to what is this word that's informing the let's say the energy or the quality of this year, the tone of this year. So I open myself up to do that. I was told by my guides I have two words. I'm still waiting on the other word. Quite often it's more around the latter part of January or February when that word comes in. So I'm staying open to that. But the word that did come in for me, which might seem like, oh my gosh, it was miracles. It was
Oh,
miracles. And
I love it. That's one of my favorite words right now, too, in general, but especially now. Magic
yeah,
and miracles.
yeah.
Yes.
And really, really, and this is what I've been coaching on with my women that are in my container, and is not miracles being this lofty, far out kind of concept or phenomenon that only happens to a few, like what are
Yes.
miracles anyway, but
Yes.
really about how can we tap into, how can we embrace miracles in the mundane, right? And like the practice that you are doing, Siri, which by the way I really relate to that. I have had periods of time away from my journaling practice and have come back more deeply into it, and it's a way that spirit communicates to me as well through that medium. That practice of gratitude of what is already in your life and a real sense of awe, I believe, is one of the most powerful ways to open up the gateway to become a receiver for more of the miracles to just naturally flow into your life. It's like it's kind of like when you're looking for a car. There's a brand of car that you're after, and then all of a sudden you're seeing that car everywhere and it's in your field. It's similar kind of thing when you're appreciating, acknowledging, looking for the miracles that are already around you. Naturally, we become more magnetic to those experiences. So I'm really intrigued and curious to see how this is going to play out this year. I know that the word is not just about me. It's very much about the space that I'm here to support other women through as well. And so I'm excited for that journey. So yeah, it was quite a delightful surprise.
I can see your energy field, and that is not common. There's very few times and few people that I see this clear. I don't see colors, but I do see energy, bright energy, and it's definitely emanating around you. So that's really fun to watch. So, Amy, abundance is such a powerful concept. You were just touching upon magic, miracles, and where we put our focus, where we put our intention is what we're going to receive more of, and being receptive to that.
Mm.
So abundance is something that goes beyond, as we know, just financial success. How do you embrace this all-encompassing abundance in all areas of your life? And what practices help you stay in flow state with that co-creation you were just talking about?
Mm. Such a wonderful question. Look, for me, and you're absolutely right. I mean, abundance extends beyond the financial. When I talk about abundance, it's abundance in all its forms, and it's the abundance. It's this recognition of our inherent nature, which is we are abundance. Right? We are abundance incarnate. How can we not be? We are an expansive soul that is having this what could seem limited human experience for the time that we are here, but in our essence who we are is so much more beyond that. So for me, this journey of abundance is a recognition and a remembrance of all that we are, that we always have been, always will be. And then how can we allow that to extend into our experiences, to inform our experiences and what we are allowing in. So it's a lot of really giving yourself permission. And I think that that is one of the gateways here with abundance, is really giving yourself permission to first of all remember your inherent nature, because we can't have this conversation of abundance if we don't really know who we are. if we
Mm.
don't really remember who we are, our nature, right? Because otherwise it's all very externalized. It's in the house,
Yeah.
it's in the car, it's in the things.
Yeah.
It's all in the things that the ego wants us to believe that we need, but in actual fact, that's all separate from us.
Mm.
How can we be in collaboration with this energy that wants to move through us? So I see abundance more now as this ability to tap into the vaster, bigger energy and allow that to move through us. And yes, when we do that, we naturally come into this resonance and cohesion with our highest timeline, with our soul. When we do that, what happens is we are more effortlessly magnetizing in the experiences, the people, the opportunities, the things that are for our highest good, that our soul has chosen
Mm.
to experience, because our soul is here to grow and evolve and to be in the frequency of freedom, because that's our inherent nature.
The
So,
frequency of freedom. Oh my gosh, I
yeah,
love that. The frequency of freedom. Have you done any sort of workshops or courses or anything focused on those words, the frequency of freedom? Because that right there, I would be like,
that
sign
just
me
came
up.
in.
Sign me up.
Came in, Siri, right? Like, but you know, this is the thing. So much of the journey that I take women on, it's nothing outside of them. It's just a true coming back home and a remembrance of all that you are, right? You unlimited, untapped potential. And when we can do that, wow, like watch out what we can then allow to come through, right? And it is opening up the channel. It really is opening up the channel. The most abundant thing that you can do is connect with whatever you want to call it, right? Whether that's your soul, spirit, universe, the quantum field, God, whatever resonates for you, your angels. I also work with angels a lot. When you can open up the pathway to be that vessel and that channel, I believe, and I truly believe this, where miracles comes in again, anything's possible. I
Oh,
believe.
okay. I'm going to ask sort of the same question, but in a different way. And it
Yeah.
might seem kind of simple, but if you know, I think you know, how is it that your aura is so strong right now? What are you doing?
Do you know what? One of the simple practices that I do, and I actually did this before I came on this morning, and I can't answer that question to know if this is exactly what I'm doing, because I'm sure that there's a number of things that I inherently do in my daily practice. But one thing that I do before I go into anything, like come online with you or do my own podcast or sessions, I don't do this always, but this is because it'll be in different forms. But I did do this morning. I am that I am. I am that I am. Really powerful, simple mantra that just brings us into our essence. And I love it because it's accessible, it's applicable to everybody. Right? Have you ever used that mantra? I am that I am.
Not exactly. I'm very immersed in the I am, but
Yeah.
not the I am that I am necessarily. Yeah,
Yeah.
so tell me more.
Same kind of energy, really, in that I am. And it brings us the I am that I am. And I believe it came from the Bible when God was talking to Moses in the burning bush, and Moses said, you know, what's your name? Or who can I say has sent me? And he says, I am that I am, right? We're releasing the limiting definitions of ourselves that we put after I am. I am
Mhm.
a mother. I am a teacher. I am a daughter. I'm a sister, right? Like all of the things that we believe in our three-dimensional world define us, we relinquish that and we return back to our inherent state, to our essence. I am does the same thing, right? And this is why I always say to my clients, like, be really careful, be really mindful of what you put after I am, because it's
Mm.
informing your reality.
Identity, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Two things. One is I want to understand more about how you are so intuitive, like how you've sharpened that tool for yourself. And I also want to ask you about your relationship with nature. So first the
Mm,
intuition, because
yeah.
I find you to be incredibly intuitive.
Yeah. Thank you. We all are, and
Yep.
it is a tool, or it is a muscle that we can all develop. It's one of the areas that I'm really passionate about supporting women to fine tune, because it's a tool that's underutilized for so many of us. We forget our capacity to be so tapped in to our psychic senses. And we all have that, right? It's not reserved for a few, it's not gifted to a few. We
Mm-hmm.
all have that. It's our nature. For me personally, I used to have these visions and dreams and this sense growing up that I had these beings trying to reach out to me,
Okay.
trying to get in touch with me. Like I would dream like people were kind of there or following me, and it was always there, this presence, these people. And I was fearful. So I would try to escape it.
Yeah.
One day in this vision, I turned around. I made a different choice and I turned around. I thought, what if I just turned around and went back to them and actually had a dialogue and saw what do you want, basically, which is what I said. And it was all of my team. It was my spirit guides and it was my soul team and it was my angels there wanting to reach out to me and wanting to support me on this journey. And since then, I have learned how to embrace it. I'm not fearful of it anymore. I have developed my relationship with my guides, with the greater consciousness, but also with archangels that I work with. So I've done an angel mediumship training as well. So that's helped to develop it. But
Wow.
in all honesty, the way to develop it is to use it, is to
Mm.
practice
Yes.
every day, is to be in communion with that, is to ask questions, is to journal, right? Some people will do it through automatic writing.
Mm-hmm.
You're out of your head and you're just picking up your pen and your journal and you're having an intention to connect with your team. It's kind of like what Neil Donald Walsh did when he wrote Conversations with God. He just
Mm.
had to kind of to write, to have this conversation. And this energy was coming back through him. And that became his novel. So we can all do that. And automatic writing is the reason I say that is it's a really easy and accessible way to start out. And whenever I do this with people, they're always so surprised, like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah,
Right.
it's so tangible, but it's coming energetically through the crown, down their heart, out their arms, onto the page, and it slows you down, and you can actually hear yourself, and you can hear those angels, and you can hear
Mhm.
the people on the other side guiding you, or God, whoever, that you're ready to connect with
Yeah.
when you're ready. And it took that moment for you to be ready. So just following up with the question about nature, because as you were speaking earlier, I was just imagining you walking on the beach and being so just in touch with the ocean and the sand and the sun. What is your relationship with nature? How does it inform the work that you do with women?
It's everything. It's
Yeah.
everything.
Okay.
I had the calling. We moved from the city 3 years ago. There's a deep calling in my soul to relocate and be by the ocean. I'm
Mm.
sitting here in my office looking at the ocean. So I
Mm.
manifested this, what I call my dream house by the beach. So it was a calling to shift and move, which made no logical sense. We had a beautiful home, lived in an amazing suburb. I had my yoga studios. So I had about 3 yoga studios and a
Oh,
flotation
wow.
wellness center around the corner from my house, right? Was the main location. I had community, all of that, but there was a calling. And I understood, I've understood over time that there's no sense in ignoring that calling. It really isn't. Right? You've got to, and it can take you into places that feel really challenging and uncomfortable. But I've gotten good at being able to take leaps because I've developed that relationship with my guidance team, and I trust. I trust, like
Yes.
trust. I don't even know if this is answering your question.
Go for it.
Where we were with that nature. So I didn't realize at the time how much nature would play a role in developing the work that I'm here to do. I
Mm,
always say to my clients, like, if you want to connect to your angels or you want to connect to God or spirit, go and be in nature,
yeah.
right? And that is a way that I receive downloads quite easily, is when I'm walking along the beach or I'm walking in the national park, to the point now that I might take my otter voice recording, because I will have downloads that come through, so I can record ideas for a workshop or a masterclass or something when I'm walking out in nature. And I think that it connects us, right? We get the best Wi-Fi out in nature. It just connects us. Our feet are on the earth. We are grounded in, and we are open, and we are available, and we're away from all the other distractions. So uh, I think seeking nature and being able to receive in nature is a way to deeply accelerate your connection with spirit, with the invisible realms.
It's so
And
interesting that you said Wi-Fi. Sorry to interrupt you because
mm,
I know that when we go deeper into nature, we get less of the quotes regular Wi-Fi, but more of the Wi-Fi you're talking about, which is that
yeah,
that deeper connection. So fascinating. But you do you remember what you were about to finish saying?
what I was going to say then is what started to develop for me. I live in Noosa, so in the Sunshine Coast. There's a beautiful Noosa National Park that I walk through. And then when you're tapped into this, you realize, and this might sound really crazy, but I could start to communicate with the animals, with the,
Yeah.
like, we have the whales that migrate along the east coast of Australia, and they go right past the national park. And I was sitting there one day in my meditation, surrounded by nature, and there was this beautiful pod of like whales just going past, like literally just out in front. And I could feel and I could sense, and I could receive their communication. Like, this is what is available to us. Might seem crazy, but this is what's available to us when we tap into it. It is infinite. That's a miracle. Right? That's miraculous.
Mm-hmm. It so is. I want to ask you, Amy, about relationship. As we were talking about intuition and these practices and helping women and being in nature and connecting with your angels and the other side and God, some women, but not all women, have partners that enhance that relationship. And some women have partners that are in a completely different frequency, or maybe they support you, but their frequency is just different. And so I'm curious how you give yourself, or how you've given yourself full freedom to be in your own energy whilst also in partnership. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
It really does make sense. And it's interesting because I was asked this question a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Someone who is on this path and really developing their spirituality and learning in the ways in how to start to prioritize themselves and live more on purpose, and being in more of that driver's seat and co-creating the reality, which is a lot of the work that I do with women. And feeling that you can start to feel, I mean, what is essentially happening is our vibration is rising.
Hmm.
Okay, as we are being out in nature, as we are connecting with our angel team, as we are following that guidance to do the things that are enhancing our well-being, literally our frequency is rising, right? When we talk about manifestation, it's literally getting onto that same wavelength, that same vibration of that goal or that desire. So that is what's happening within us. I will speak more broadly about this in all of our relationships. It's not necessarily just in those partner relationships, but they're the ones that we can feel the most. I'm very blessed because my husband, I feel like, has been on this journey with me. Maybe he wouldn't have if he wasn't with me, because like I'm out there in what I believe, and in my practices are very much embedded into my daily life and my daily rituals, and my children see that and all of that. he's been on that journey. So he is developing in his own way. A really key thing here, particularly for women or for men who have got a partner and you're feeling like, I don't know if they're quite there. And how do I continue to grow when maybe I'm not seeing them growing at the same rate? And I'm pretty sure that's what you're asking me, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because in my relationship, my husband's very committed to growth and spiritual in his own way and very supportive. But it's interesting living with someone for 16 years.
Mm.
They have their own places where there's density and there's challenge and there's fear and there's ways of we each hold ourselves back. And so um, I think that I'm just asking about, more like living with other people, I guess. It's not just your partner, but like I live with three guys. Male
How blessed
energy.
they are, can I just say? They're getting an energetic upgrade just by being in your presence, and they probably don't realize how lucky they are.
I mean, it's like male energy is so different in a lot of ways. And so when I get around women like you and my other beautiful women in Portland and we retreat together and you lead retreats, it's different. The energy's different. We get each other, we vibe off each other. It's like there's just a whole feminine goddess energy language that happens.
Yeah.
So I guess, that's what I'm kind of looking at. And then I'm wondering if you have anything similar where you're like, oh yeah, like this is how I keep my vibration, my frequency high, even in the face of like these other kind of
Mm,
people going through their own like denser energies or their own fears, right?
yeah. And you know what? I'm still learning this, but the
Yeah.
word I want to say is acceptance, deep acceptance,
Oh,
right?
I love it. That's great.
And
That's
I
great.
say that I exhale because it's tricky. It's really
Yeah.
tricky. Also, when we're going through what we're going through and we're having an awakening and we're feeling really expansive, inherently, we want other people to experience that as well, right? We want them to experience that. We want them to be growing in the same kind of way because it feels so good. And yet we realize that we're all here on our own individual journeys and we've all got our own individual soul growth and evolution. And in relationship, and I'm talking about particularly in our home and where you're living, a big part of it, and I need to remind myself of this as well, is acceptance in this trusting. Trusting, as I said, when you're in the same environment as people, they are going to upgrade their energy as well. I don't want to say upgrade, but there is going to be a shift in their frequency as well, just by being in your presence with them. It's like children. And I can speak to this with my 15-year-old daughter, and I will say certain things, or she sees the way that I operate, and and I don't necessarily think that it's having any impact on her or rubbing off on her because she's 15. She wants to do things her way. She doesn't want to listen to her mom or anything. But then I'll notice that she is spending time, not even letting me know this, but I become aware of it, that she's spending time consciously manifesting, writing in her journal about what she wants to create because she's in that environment. So it's really having trust and acceptance that they are growing in their own journey in their own pace. And as you said, we as women, yeah, we want to be in communion with other women who are growing as well. And we get to choose that, to go away and to have those retreats and to be in that company, that resonance. And understanding also that each of our relationships are teachers. So what is this man in my life or this woman in my life or this child, like what are they actually teaching me? What are they imparting on me? Because I can be on this spiritual journey, but I can also be deeply in control around having the expectation that I want everyone else to be on the same wavelength. And so
Mm,
what do I need to know? What are they shining a spotlight here for me to go, you know what? They're teaching me unconditional love.
mhm.
They're teaching me acceptance. And so they're a spiritual teacher for you as much as
Yes.
you are for them.
Yeah, it's
They're
great.
keeping you grounded. They're keeping you humble, right? They're providing for you, whatever it is, realizing that they are being of service to you as much as you are being of service to them. So it really comes under that umbrella of unconditional love and acceptance, right?
I love it, Amy. I love it. Thank you for that. Thank you for making sense of my question because it was just coming out as it was coming out. And now I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, which is I'm going to say to you, free association, what does, when you think of a walnut, for some reason I'm imagining a walnut. I see it as like a little, like a, anyway, before I do my interpretation, why am I thinking of a walnut right now? What does that mean to you in your life? It's so random, but like we're just gonna go
I
with
love that you're like tapping into what's in the field here. Um,
it. We're gonna have fun with this.
right, like I didn't have a walnut for breakfast. It's not something that's in my immediate tangible physical field. You know, the thing that came in though when you said walnut, I've immediately gone to brain.
Right, that's what I was
And
thinking.
mindset, right? And the crescents and the creases in the walnut
Yeah,
represent the neural pathways in the brain that we are creating. Is that where you're going with that?
that was my next association, but I was like, Before I say it, let me see what she thinks of."
Yeah, yeah, I love this. This is a fun game.
All right, we'll come back down a little bit from the Akashic realms, and I'm going to ask you, feeling good and staying in alignment can sometimes feel challenging, especially with the demands of like everyday 3D life. So, what are some of your favorite ways to return to a place of joy and balance when things feel too 3D, too overwhelming, too much contrast?
Mm. And they do, right? Like I'm definitely not sitting here going, it's all sunshine and rainbows and we just feel good all the time. Like I have my highs and my lows throughout the day, even. I've got really good at knowing what I need to do to take care of myself to shift my vibration. If I feel like am in more of that density, am going into some of the emotions like worry that I know really serve no purpose whatsoever, other than to fuel potential outcomes that we're not wanting, right?
Hmm.
So I know when I'm doing that, when I'm dwelling in that space or in that loop, that I need to shift my frequency. So I go to what are the things, what are the practices that I know light me up. Right? Now, this could be as simple as, and I have a practice of checking in with my soul, communing with my soul all the time. Okay, what is it that I need to do here? You can really just ask yourself, what can feel good for me right now? And maybe that is going out for a walk in nature. Maybe that is going to a yoga class. I find a lot of the time it's moving and shifting my body. Maybe that's putting on music and having a dance party in the kitchen. Maybe that's watching a really funny movie. Like laughter is such incredible medicine. And I know we know this, we've heard that, but how many of us really take it? And I've been reflecting on this lately about how, as humans and as adults, we get so serious.
Yeah,
We
I
get
pulled
so,
this card when you were talking earlier about animals and talking and communing with
Mhm.
animals. Guys, if you can't see it, it's hummingbird meaning joy, and it says lighten up, and that's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's some of the medicine that I've been given lately from my guidance team is like to literally lighten the load. So if things are feeling heavy and if you feel like you're stuck in this negative loop, what can I do to lighten up right now, to change that energy? Put on a song, dance, go with your kids, have time with your children if you have children, or catch
Hmm.
up with a girlfriend, or go for a run. Like all of those things, I call them like light activities or light practices that will immediately shift you out and raise up your frequency.
Yeah.
Connection, right? Connecting with a girlfriend or a loved one that you know that you can actually have a heart to heart with. I mean, there's so many practices that are just at our fingertips that are within us. And I know, Siri, you would probably say doing some breath work and all of that is available to us. Meditation, journaling. I make sure now I make it a priority to ensure that I am doing something, that I'm doing some of those practices, that I'm engaged in that every day to dissolve some of the heaviness and the intensity of life, because it is there, right? We're having this 3D human experience. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It can be really dark and heavy, but it's our responsibility to change the dial.
Mm, mm.
Right?
So, authenticity, because this is the authentic creative. So, authenticity is such a core part of creativity and personal expression. How do you stay true, Amy, to yourself while continuing to evolve and expand in your creative journey?
Hmm. I feel like I've gone on a journey where perhaps I wasn't allowing myself to be fully in my authenticity, as I think many of us go on when I feel like for a lot of my life, I was a shapeshifter, and you might
Okay,
resonate if you're
sure,
listening. I
sure.
got really good. Really good at fitting in and changing myself for what I didn't know at the time, and I can look back and see was a level of approval that we were seeking, as we do as women, that safety of approval. And even going on my yoga journey and teaching countless yoga classes and building up the yoga businesses, this was a way for me to transmit the teachings, the spiritual teachings, in a way that was accessible and digestible, right? Like modern asana yoga has been trending for a long time. So in a way, I felt like I kind of was still a little bit in the spiritual closet, like I was half out with
Okay.
my yoga. And then the journey over more recent years has been this really real calling to anchor into my authenticity
Yeah.
as the safest place that I can be, even though initially it can feel unsafe, because your stuff comes up about what other people are going to think about you or how they're going to perceive you. So even for me, selling the yoga studios and the yoga business and stepping more into this pure soul work. I mean, it's literally soul work. I work with helping people tap back into their soul essence, and can be considered really woo by some people. Like, I needed to get okay with being in my truth, being in my authenticity, not being understood, maybe not being seen by everyone, but knowing that my duty was to be able to be seen by those who needed me,
Mm,
because my mission was bigger than my ego identity. My mission was bigger than just me here in this lifetime. When you know that there is a stronger calling and you have a mission to serve the greater consciousness in whatever way that you do, and you've given that within yourself, you have a sense of that, then we need to be able to dissolve the this feeling of concerning ourselves with what other people think or not being accepted, and find that deep acceptance and love within ourselves. So that's been a really interesting journey for me, that I feel like has been heightened over the past few years in making this really big transition, because I left a business that I had for 15 years that was safe, it was known, it was familiar, it was comfortable. I thought that I could just continue doing that forever, but spirit had other plans. It was like, no, no, it's time to come out from behind the safety of that brand into fully being in your truth and in your light and in your power, and seeing what's possible from there, right? And that's when I think you open yourself up to the bigger magic. But in order to do that, you need to make a choice that, yeah, I'm willing to be all of me and all of my authenticity. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to speak like this. I wouldn't have been able to do this. I wouldn't have been able to be on a podcast. I would have been so worried about how I would be received or what other people would think. So I know firsthand what that journey is like, to allow yourself to be visible. And I hear from so many women that that's the thing that holds them back. And I think that
mm,
that's real tragedy, because you're holding back from the people that you are here to influence and you are here to serve, by you just being in your unique essence and your authenticity and your magnetism.
yeah.
And it
Yeah,
takes courage.
it does.
Yeah.
It takes courage. To be authentic, to stand in our truth, to listen to our intuition, to listen to the other side, and to follow that and to trust that, like you were saying, and to shift away from things that you've established for so long, like 15 years, that were comfortable, to go out on a limb and do something completely different.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
know there's a lot, I work with a lot of women that are in that space. Maybe they've been in a corporate job for many years. Maybe they're being in a job that's unfulfilling and they want to know what is on the other side of this.
Mhm.
What's actually possible for me? I'm never going to know unless I take that leap and experience it. And the thing that really the important thing that I love to impart to women is that you're not doing this alone. It's not just you. Right? You have this support, the most incredible support, right? Like for most of us, and this is coming back to our guidance team, a lot of their work is quite redundant at the moment because we're not utilizing it. It takes free will. We have to ask. They don't just intervene unless it's part of that soul contract. But we need to use our free will to ask to be shown, to ask for that support, to have that conversation. And that's what's available when we do really lean into that. It's quite magical and it's quite beautiful.
Thank you. I have two questions that are coming up. One is about expansion and abundance and up leveling in your business so that you can receive more money, so that you can be of deeper service. When people are only at there's something blocking them, there's something blocking them from that next up level. Maybe I'm sure there's like tons of courses and hours you could spend talking about that, but maybe you could nutshell it for us a little bit of what's something that is actionable, or what's a prompt for us to look at.
Okay, great question. I think that for many of us, we can get really caught up in the strategy and we look outside and compare and see what other people are doing. One of the first things I think, and you mentioned that is block is understanding what is it first that's holding me back, because we can try and do all of this work in the external and all of the strategy piece, but if we're not getting to what that root cause is of where, of that limiting belief or that programming, um, that we are continually playing out, then we're not going to really be able to open up that channel to receive. So I think that working with someone that can help you to really tap into what that might be, and it's like rewiring, shifting out of that limiting belief, and then cultivating new ones that feel good and that are in alignment with where you're heading. For me, when I look at anything, in if you're looking at creating a business or expanding your business, it can seem like it's this big mountain in front of you and you don't know where to begin.
Mhm.
And the way that I've always approached things in my business, in growing and expanding the yoga studios, is tapping into my soul. So I always, I call it like a soul led strategy. So, like, does this feel right for me? Like this action that I'm taking, this product that I'm launching, this thing that I want to do, does this feel soul led? And this is really about like developing our psychic senses as well, and understanding is what is the language that spirit's communicating to me. So is it through a felt sense in my body? Is it through that gut knowing? Is it through that voice that I can hear, that clairaudience, or is it through the visual? Is this soul led, or am I just doing this because I'm trying out different things and throwing spaghetti at the wall? Now, there is a point in needing to do that, and trial and error of different things, but taking one step at a time, taking one day, what's my highest priority today? What feels right for me today? And being informed by that guidance system, which might be send that email, record that podcast, reach out to that person. Okay. So, this is where we can use our guidance system to help us in business. And I couldn't imagine growing a business, scaling a business, doing any of this without that connection to source, without that channel of communication. And and making it really accessible, whereby you're taking it one day at a time. All I need to know today is what is my highest priority. We can get really consumed in looking so far ahead and thinking, I'm not there. How do I get there? And it's one step at a time. What is that? And then we're shown, when we do our action bit, when we take our inspired action from that guidance, then spirit can do spirit's work. And then we're shown the next puzzle piece. So to me now, it's very soul-led. It's really about being in collaboration with the vaster consciousness that knows what we don't know, that can see what we can't see, that can orchestrate miracles. And the other thing is being really, really clear on your vision, on your why, on why you're doing what you're doing. We can have our intention in our mind, but what is that soul-led intention? Like, I am here to serve. I am here to reach people through my voice, through my wisdom, through what wants to come through me. So having a deeper vision that feels really anchored in your purpose, I think just really helps to inform that trajectory. And I find that those things, and we learn so much about ourselves in business as we grow. It's like the best personal development course that we can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
We meet ourselves, and we meet the parts of us that we need to relinquish and let go, and we come to know ourselves. So I think that going on this journey as a soul-led entrepreneur is one of the most challenging things, but also one of the most incredible things that you can do if you are truly here to grow and serve. So I hope that kind of answers the
It's
question.
great. It's great. I lean into so much of just only pretty much what I want to do. Just
Yeah.
only what I want to do. There's very few things I do that I don't want to do.
Well,
But
you're led by what feels good, right?
yeah. But what's interesting is uh, in doing that, in living that way, authentically leaning into what brings me joy, it's not the thing that's like bringing all the financial abundance yet.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, God, why do you bring me so much joy, and why do you give me these gifts and have it feel so good, and then not like reward it? But maybe I'm just not seeing, maybe it's like the reward is actually all around me all the time, and I'm so, as you said, taken care of, and it's just not looking the way I think it's gonna look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you kind of answered your question there, and you swung back around into this knowing that the other thing is that we expect everything in our timeline. We expect it in our
Mm,
timeline rather than trusting in God's time,
yeah.
trusting in the timing, the divine timing. And I think that this is one of the biggest lessons for us as humans, is anchoring into trust and faith, is surrendering our will, because we can get really impatient. It's not happening now. I'm looking at my bank account now. I'm not seeing the results now. In our humanness, we're continually looking for that evidence in the three-dimensional world to affirm that we are abundant, or to affirm that's where we want to be. Joy is a portal into abundance. Joy, so you following your joy, you are walking your highest timeline. You are doing what feels good and lights you up. So you're exactly where you're meant to be. And how can you lean deeper more into that trust, that, and into that knowing, when we're looking outside and when we're seeking it and when we're waiting, we're not believing that we have it.
Mm,
And
mm,
essentially then we're pushing the thing further away because we're in the lack of it.
mm,
It's not here. Why? Like, even the questioning. And I know that this is really tricky, because we are human at the end of the day, and we do look for results and all of those things. So this is a practice series. This is really about cultivating this practice of trust, this practice of surrender, and realizing that it is all here, but we do need to trust in divine timing. There's a reason that you are where you are in this moment. There's a reason where you are, and trusting that everything is going to come in what you need. But we need to really anchor in to God's timing. And maybe there are things that we are needing on this growth journey, right? That we are still needing before perhaps we're seeing the monetary reward. So this is masterful, right? This is real passage of understanding that there is a greater force here at play, and our job is to keep following the joy. Our job is to keep taking the steps, to keep staying open and in the intention, and knowing, like knowing feels even deeper than trust. How could you so rebelliously just be in the knowing that it's already done? It's already done. And divine timing is just catching up. So I know that that can sound a lot easier than what it can feel like in reality. But if you've ever been through something, I know when I was selling the business and it felt like a really long year and a half of manifesting the sale and the buyer and the price that I wanted. And I remember thinking, when is it going to come? When is it? Like, is this ever going to happen? And it did. And it came and it dropped in so divinely. And it was the exact price that I was putting out there. I can look back now and what seemed like a huge mountain that I was climbing, what seemed like a huge amount of time, I can look back and it was like that, right? We can look back and go, wow, that all played out. So being in the awe comes back to the miracles, right? Being in that place of awe, being in that place of gratitude for what you're already. I look at you and see so much abundance. And it's easy for other people to reflect that back.
I feel it. I do feel it. It just doesn't look the way I think it quotes should look. So I go,
Yeah.
oh, what's wrong with this puzzle?
Yeah.
But I do feel it,
Yeah.
especially if I intentionally tap into it and focus on it and bring myself to it. So it's very interesting the way we're taken care of and the way our mind thinks we're supposed to be taken care of.
Yeah. And that's surrendering your will to the will of the divine. And Neville Goddard says, like, feeling is the secret. So if you are feeling it, that's it. The
Mm,
world, the three-dimensional world will catch up with that. But if you are
yes.
led by the feeling, and if you are in resonance with the feeling every day when you wake up or when you go to bed, and you affirm and you remember your abundance and you tap into that feeling, it is done.
Yeah.
It cannot not manifest, right?
You know what I think it is, Amy, is just seeping ourselves more and more and more time in that feeling, more time in that feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was talking about this with my husband last night. You know, there's a practice you can do of even setting a little alarm throughout the day
Mm,
to remind yourself to tap into that frequency,
mm-hmm.
to remind yourself. And it might just be a little reminder on your phone that says, I am grateful, or I am joy,
Mm-hmm.
or I am whatever it is, a multimillionaire, whatever it is, that frequency that you're calling in. And you pause and you take a moment to feel that and to be in that. The more that you can do that, you're just training, you're reprogramming your subconscious to know that this is my reality. And we create, like, 90% of what we're experiencing in our reality is led by the subconscious, is informed by our subconscious. It's created from that space. That's how we manifest. Big part of it. So we are just retraining. We're letting go of the old programming that might have said, like, I'm not enough, and where's the money, and why the things happen to me. And we're connecting back into the I am and into the feeling. The
Mm.
more that you can dwell in that space, the
Yeah.
more you
So much
just,
conditioning and
yeah.
unconscious that it's like, okay, bringing it to the conscious to then send the signal back down, like, hey, we're doing this
Correct,
differently, guys.
correct, correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just reminding you, this is who
yeah.
we are. This is our reality. I did that in manifesting our home. Like I would sit and I would be in the feeling of being in that, of what it felt like. Our feelings are literally magnetic. So the more that we can let ourselves tap into that, woo, that's power.
Yeah, and then also just we'll wrap up, but like also just remembering because we're like you're like I look at you and I see this abundance and it's hard for us to see it all the time and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like remembering all the miracles that I've manifested, like sitting in that."
That's a really, really powerful practice, Siri, right? Is looking back, because what you're doing is you're showing yourself and you're showing your ego, you're showing your subconscious mind, look what we've done. Because
Yeah.
we're always seeking that evidence. Look at how abundant we are.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
where
a
are you
really,
putting your focus?
mm, yeah, yeah. What are you energizing? What are you choosing to energize? So these are all practices that have been around for eons. And I so deeply believe in the magic of this because I've seen it play out continuously in my life, that I don't doubt it anymore. It doesn't mean that I don't wobble, that I don't waver, that I don't go into the human emotions of the doubt and the fear and the resistance. That's always going to be there, but I shift my relationship with it. And that's what's important. So,
Yeah,
oh
you
no.
talked about acceptance, which was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
Amy, thank you so much. Your work is so powerful. Your connection to yourself, the intuition and the trust, and your connection to soul and to all of the guidance that you listen to is really powerful. And as I said, you have such a powerful energy around you. I really think, and what's so beautiful also is your wisdom, your insight, your intuition, and your power is soft.
Mm.
It's not loud and it's not proving. And it just is. Like you said, I am that I am. It is that way for the way you show up.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. That's so, so beautiful. I receive that. And thank you for that. Because yeah, thank you for seeing that in me. That just means so much, Siri. Really beautiful.
It's a
Mm.
good, you're a good mentor. It's a good way to show up, to be the example so that women can look to you and go, yeah, that's, you can be powerful and soft.
Mm, mm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you, Amy. You guys, thanks for coming along for this really fun, adventurous, beautiful, soul-led ride. I hope you had as much fun as we did. This was such an enriching, abundant conversation for me. And I think for Amy, she seems to have really
Mm,
enjoyed herself. She's
I love
glowing. So thank you guys for being on this really abundant ride with us. And if you have questions, if you want to work with Amy, if you want to get into her worlds, where would you like them to go?
So I there's a few ways. My podcast is the Abundance Club. My website is thelightplace.com.au. So I do offer one-to-one mentoring. I also have a wonderful membership with a lot of this kind of somatic practices that help with your manifestation. So the subliminals and the guided meditation and the EFT tapping. So a lot of the practices that help to reprogram the subconscious mind that's available in that portal as well. So and I'm also on Instagram, Amy the Light Place. So feel free to reach out to me and let me know how you found the episode. I'd love to hear from you and continue our conversation. Thank you so much, Siri.
You're so welcome. One day, maybe we'll see each other in person.
I would love that. I'm manifesting that. I'm gonna come over.
I may, and I might have to visit you in Australia one day.
Please do, please do. We can get our
So,
phoenixes together.
yeah.
The phoenix
Yes, get our
rising.
phoenixes together. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Keep expanding your capacity to feel good, one breath at a time. Loving you. See you soon.